Hey, hey, hey. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I am so glad y'all here. There's lots of comedians I like, but I love Cat Williams. And I know that sometimes people think that he's an absolute clown, but there's one thing that he has said over the course of his life that has always actually been inspiring to me. And that is to write down everything that you have been through, all of it, all of the tough things, all of the difficult things, all of the unfair things, and then take a look at how much of it you have actually made it through, that you have overcome, because it is an indication that you can do it again and again and again. And I think sometimes even I forget that this story, the good, the bad, the ugly of it, are all or represents all the things that kind of make you who you are today. And when I consider what it looks like for tomorrow, I can't help but think about one thing that I've learned in church. You know, when I grew up at my particular church, there was a gorgeous woman, beautiful woman. In fact, those two words just don't seem like they do her justice. Her name was Sister Edna Kinsey. And Sister Edna Kinsey used to sit as soon as you walked in the door, she was at the first seat there on the edge, second row, always dressed immaculately, always perfect posture, just a woman of class. And a new person would not know who Sister Edna Kinsey was. You see, she was the most powerful person in that sanctuary, including, if you include the preacher. You see, there are many people in the world who could say no to things, who could stop stuff from happening. But there's a much smaller group of people that if they say yes, that the action is going to go forward. And Sister Edna Kinsey was the person that if something was going to go forward, you needed her buy-in and approval. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen. And someone new to that congregation would not know that because she didn't say much. She didn't move much. She just sat there and smiled, looking like the Queen of England. And why do I mention that when I talk about what it looks like to kind of overcome challenges and use that information to help you go forward? Well, what Sister Edna Kinsey was exceptional at was listening. And this is a lesson that I'm still learning. When you are talking, you are not, you can't possibly be empathetic in those moments. You can't possibly be learning in those moments. And quite frankly, when you think about therapists and hostage negotiators and sociopaths, you are actually giving up a position. And when I think about the first 90 days of any new project, any new assignment, the the goal should be to just sit and to just listen and to just watch so that you know who the Edna Kinseys are. Because you know what else is interesting about Sister Edna Kinsey? She was always, as my whole life, one of the older members of the church. And people tend to think old folk don't know what's going on, tend to think old folk don't have no power, tend to think that old folk are stuck and not open to change. And had you taken that position, you wouldn't be able to get much done because it was Sister Edna Kinsey who was holding the reins. What am I trying to say to us today? My loves, tactical empathy is nothing but understanding what another person thinks, feels, and believes. You don't have to feel it with them. That is emotional empathy and helpful, right? Like we need great levels of it. But the ability to truly get into the mind of another person and to know what moves them is kind of the thing that keeps you from repeating old errors, from repeating old cycles, from getting into the same situations over and over and over again. Like at some point, we have to look at ourselves and go, yeah, I keep making it out of this, but why do I keep even getting into it? And I know I know you're smart. I know you know a lot about a lot of things. I know that you have been through life. And so when you get a new assignment, you show up in a new place, it feels odd to be the one who is not asking questions, to be the one who is not probing, to be the one who is not credentialing, letting people know who you are and where you've been and what you've sold and what you've earned and all of these things. But when you're talking, how do you know who the sister and the Kensings are? How do you know that? And if you don't know that, how do you make the next right decision? You see, this term empathy is viewed as a soft skill in many ways. It is under attack. People think that it is at odds with justice. And all I have for you, my loves, is when I think about a hostage negotiator, when they show up on a scene, everybody knows that the goal is to get the hostages out. Everybody knows you ain't getting no money. Everybody knows you're not getting a car. That might happen in movies, but that's not happening in real life. They will kill everyone before they let you get away, having held people in such a way. And everyone knows this. And yet, the most skilled hostage negotiators go in and never even say those words. They never say, "Give me the hostages." They never say, "This is who I am, and I've been doing this for 20 years." They listen. They understand how that person got to that point, even if they disagree, because understanding does not mean agreement. Like, to understand how someone got to a place does not mean that you fundamentally agree. If I say I understand you, that doesn't mean I agree with you. And too often we mix these things up. And so the one thing that I want to leave you with today on this Filter Free Friday is, why don't you do the assignment? Make the list, write it all down, everything you've been through, and look at it. Look at the patterns. Look at the positives. Look at the negatives. Look at the things you wish you could have done differently. Stop talking so much about what happened to you and maybe start looking at what it could do for you if you were interrogating it, if you were standing alongside it, like watching a roller coaster instead of being on it. Because what it has done for me, my loves, is helped me to be able to take some of what I consider my life's worst experiences and use them actually for fuel to prepare me for whatever I get to do tomorrow. It all hurts. All of it does. Because to bridle yourself, to allow people to share and divulge when you vehemently disagree, it takes skill, it takes patience, it takes self discipline, especially those of us who used to handle things very differently. But why? What's the outcome? What's the positive outcome for you? The more you understand what other people think, feel, and believe, the more you understand yourself and what you've been able to overcome and make it through, the better positioned you are to be able to stand up as the best version of yourself for what's next. This week, I have learned of a couple people who have lost their life to suicide. And every time it breaks my heart because I never saw it coming, never. I never see it coming. I have a dear friend who has brain cancer. I have just a lot of people going through a lot of things. And a trauma response is to minimize, is to say, well, based on whatever I'm going through, it's not that important. So I don't have permission to feel my thing. That's not what I'm saying. You have permission to feel your thing. But recognize and understand and label, express however you need to express, feel your thing, so that when you show up, you can regulate in the ways that are going to be the most helpful to you going forward. It's been a lot happening to people personally. There's been a lot happening interpersonally on the national stage, global stage. And listen, my little effective empathy muscles are strained. I don't understand how we could watch what happened to Tyree Nichols and not have everyone who was on the scene, who was a person of law enforcement, at least not be l- let's say you don't think that if they didn't throw a blow that they weren't guilty or culpable of murder. I don't understand how we don't find them to be negligent. I don't understand that. But when I eat my own cooking, when I say to myself, I don't know what the jurors heard. If I were in that seat and I made that decision, what would have to be true, trying to understand what they think, feel, and believe? Here's what I know. Here's what I come up with. It's not what I know. Here's what I come up with. I remember that there was a police officer who spoke out against those officers who beat Tyree Nichols to death. That police officer was shot dead in his front yard. I haven't heard anything else about it. So I wonder how many of those jurors know they have to live in the city of Memphis after they've made a choice, after they've decided a ruling. They spent 8 hours deliberating and came back with 7 not guilty verdicts for all 3 officers who decided not to take plea deals. The only thing that makes sense when I try to get into the shoes of another is you're worried about your own life. What else would make someone make that choice? And I don't know what I would do if I were stuck living in Memphis and could not leave and knew that police officers were shot dead for speaking out against this. I don't know. I understand, even if I don't agree. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.